Francorality, or Francorality, a digital platform at the service of the comparative study of the oral heritage of the western region of France and of the international North American Francophonie. The Francorality project takes place in the context of heritage enhancement policies and that of the renewal of scientific studies from specific documentary collections, audio, audiovisual, written, and photographic archives linked to them. It aims to document and promote via a cutting-edge digital platform adapted to the essentially sound nature of the data, a collection of oral literature relating to a united cultural base, since coming from field surveys carried out in rural areas since the beginning of the 20th century, in the French Western area, Eastern Canada, and Louisiana. This involves making all the funds under this cultural base available on the Francorality digital platform, facilitating their access through the quality of the descriptions and the development of precise links between the collections and the media. Specific research themes adapted to target audiences will be developed so as to facilitate the promotion of this intangible cultural heritage. The originality of this project lies in the fact that it is situated in the context of the international Francophonie and the specific links developed between Western France and the North American Francophonie is changing. It is also based on close collaboration between the associative movement, the local populations who hold the collective memory, those who participated in the collection of this memory, and the institutional circles, in particular for technical and scientific contributions. Why was this project initiated in Poitiers? The phenomenon of transatlantic circulation linked to the Acadian and Cajun fact has spanned more than 4 centuries of history. It began at the beginning of the 17th century with an emigration of different groups of French people to the New World, a large proportion of which came from Poitou. It is then of a geopolitical nature, since part of the descendants of these Acadian pioneer settlers was deported to different regions of the world, including Louisiana, but also to northern Poitou. The notions of land of origin, land of welcome, exile, dispersion, rerouting make this slice of history a singular phenomenon to which the region of Poitou is strongly linked and to which the University of Poitiers grants keen interest in research. At the University of Poitiers, the Francorality project is led by the House of Human and Social Sciences. This structure is associated with the National Center for Scientific Research and brings together 15 laboratories in economic, human, social, and literature sciences. It provides us with specific IT equipment, dedicated staff, and technological platform. In addition, the Institut d'études acadiennes et québécoises, Institute for Acadian and Quebec Studies, a multidisciplinary university research institute at the University of Poitiers, guarantees our work detailed comparative analysis at local, national, and international levels, particularly on the issues of relations between language and identity, cultural identity in the context of exile, cultural reappropriation in changing French-speaking contexts, relations between the cultural and the political. Thus, the Francorality project is a continuation of the research activities of the Institut d'études acadiennes et québécoises, now extended to the new Sangor Chair in North American Francophonie, also the University of Poitiers. project partners. At a national scale, the Association of People of Cherves. Created in 1975, this association works for the protection, promotion, and enhancement of rural heritage. It is the custodian of a very important collection of oral literature. Second, the National Archives and the Museum of European and Mediterranean Civilizations. These two institutions are custodians of all documents from collections made by the former Museum of Popular Arts and Traditions. Led by Claudie Marcel Dubois and Maggie Pichonnet-Andral, these collections have so far not been made available. They offer a well thought out experience methodology common to the entire area concerned. The missions cover the French Center-West, all of Western Canada, and Louisiana. Then the Ethnomusicology Research Center and the Musica Consortium. The Center for Research in Ethnomusicology is conducting an in-depth study of the constitution of common vocabularies and repositories based on semantic web technologies for the indexing of musical and sound data. At the international scale now, the Institute of Acadian Studies at the University of Moncton, Canada, is the center par excellence for studies in the Acadian field. The Institute of Acadian Studies will be one of the Canadian partners with whom all methodological and legal questions will be discussed in order to extend the project to all French-speaking Canada. The Acadian Centre at Sainte Anne University, Nova Scotia, Canada, the Franco-Ontarian Folklore Centre at the Sudbury University, and the Louisiana Studies Center at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette are all three centers whose objective is to collect and preserve all kinds of data, documents, and objects relating to the history and culture of the French communities present in their respective geocultural area. Their collections of primary and secondary sources touching both the past and the contemporary reality of populations will be essential to building the base that will feed the database. The Canada Research Chair in Migration, Transfers and Francophone Communities at the University of Saint Boniface. Its researchers work in migration and transfers from a continental perspective in a diachronic and contemporary way.
So, the presentation of the platform. The first page opens with a general presentation of the database and the mention of the scientific, technique, and financial partners. There is different possibilities to enter the base. One is through the different tabs. This one, for example, is centered on the structuring of sound archives into different levels. The funds, for example, Alan Lomax's funds for Louisiana or Anselme Chiasson for Moncton. The missions, those missions from the Museum of Popular Arts and Traditions from Paris. Investigation, enquête. It means the recording made in one day, in one place with the same person. For example, this one, which has been made here at that time with Charles Aubrière. And the last level, the item, for example, the tune instrument or a testimony or a song. For example, this song, La destinée, la rose au bois, which is given by César Vincent. So we've got all the information about this song and we can listen it. I cut it here. As you can see, there is the possibility to cut the sound, to put index, to show when there is something special, an explanation time, for example, a change of melody or the intervention of someone else. For this example, it looks like that. And so and so. That's for the general presentation of this song. After we've got the possibility here to see the score of the song, and we made an alphanumeric encoding of the score, which is done automatically. So it's possible to make comparison between all the encoding presentation, and it's possible also to listen it in MIDI. So we've got like that the general characteristic of that song. We've got also, which is totally specific in the interpretation of César Rossi, which is here. We've got also, always for this song, the text, which is here, of the same song. You can go also in the platform by the person. Here we've got, for example, all what we know for this man. Another possibility is the geolocation. Here, if I go to Louisiana, here, I am in the investigation level. If I want to go to the item, I go here. And of course, I'm in the same place. Another possibility is by the keyword. If I write rose for la destinée, la rose au bois, we know that we've got already two versions of this song, and this one is always the same one. Now, before to leave you, we can listen an example, just the sound.
La chanson suivante, c'est une chanson qui se chantait pendant les fouleries et qui suivait les mouvements, qui avait le rythme de la foulerie. J'ai cueilli la belle rose, j'ai cueilli la belle rose, mis dans mon tablier blanc, la belle rose. Mis dans mon tablier blanc, la belle rose du rosier blanc. Dans mon chemin, je vis rencontre, dans mon chemin, je vis rencontre, un beau rossignol chantant la belle rose, un beau rossignol chantant la belle rose du rosier blanc. Je lui demande la belle, je lui demande la belle, combien gagnes-tu par an, belle rose, combien gagnes-tu par an, belle rose du printemps.
So in this example, it's the meeting of three extracts, three versions of the same song, collecting from the very distant spaces, one from Canada, the other one from Louisiana, and the last one from France. also in distant times, and also in different functions. This one from the New Brunswick is Fuller's song. These only 3 extracts show at the same time how this type of sound archive can echo each other. It is easy here to recognize the same song. It's quite extraordinary for me to note the kinship of the melodic lines while noticing the specificities of each interpretation. The multiplicity of analyses will, we hope, allow for reasoning.
Now, a few words on scientific objectives and research and our research perspectives. In the regional, national, and international context it covers, this project revolves around 2 very complementary areas of activity. One with more technical objectives, serving the documentation of sound backgrounds via the digital platform. The other of scientific scope, which will be carried out through work on these documents so as to stimulate a dynamical valuation around these funds. On a more technical level and concerning, the cultural project is part of cutting-edge research concerning the processing of sound archives and in the processing of sound, even the sound signal. The documentary approach, but at the heart of our concerns, are the recognition of voice dynamics, spoken, sung, told voice, that of tone colors, instrumental, vocal, that of speakers, that of languages. Automatic indexing of bands at the level of the item could then be considered according to the methods of acoustic analysis. Among the innovations considered, we are studying the empowerment of the passage from musical sound to musical score. Our motivation is much more ambitious than that of the sole enhancement of the collection dynamic, nourished by a concern of safeguarding and more currently for heritage development. It is a question of backing this platform to a scientific inter-university research program with regional applications in terms of local development and cultural enhancement. Each area approaching these collections can thus feed its own research orientations. Regarding musical objects, for example, it may be aesthetic concerns, modalities in signing, voice projection techniques, so on and so forth. For particular fields, song, for example, research can be undertaken around scales, the resonance of sounds, the relationships of sounds between them, and then questioning the specificities of such musical aesthetics with regard to the fact of the so-called scholarly music of the Western world. To question the oral medium is also to set out towards a form of knowledge delivered in the immediacy of the present moment. It is to enter a sound universe that goes far beyond the sole common thread of the exchange with the informant, such as presence, sounds surrounding the informant, and investor-informant dialogue. It is to accept a truth that cannot be reiterated stricto sensu and whose outlines remain blurred. What does the oral bring that writing doesn't? It witnesses of intimate knowledge and also of the content of lifestyles, and the sound is the, I quote, audible band of society, the mirror of reality. It is also the contribution of stories other than history, the reflection of multiple elements of knowledge linked to societal and environmental realities. Undeniably, the sound support facilitates access to parameters that cannot be transcribed, translated in writing. But well beyond these only aspects, aren't we, in these modes of expression, faced with sounds that make sense, sounds that translate, that testify to interactions between beings, sounds that reveal accumulated standards that are not simple aesthetics ornaments, but one of the conditions, perhaps essential for humans in their collective sense. Trying to pick up on what makes sense in these sounds, to understand it, could be touching on those aspects of human nature that evolution over the past decades has attenuated or even erased. Moreover, by making it possible to apprehend social realities, the soundtrack also offers multiple opportunities to go beyond disciplinary silos: anthropology, history, language, musicology, thus opening up wide perspective to cross perspectives: historical ethnology, anthropology of musical facts, for instance. Thus, the perspectives of crossed and or comparative perspectives will work towards an update, reappropriation of heritage elements in rapidly changing context, in the rapidly changing context of the French-speaking culture. In parallel with fonts treated in the data deposited on Francorality can also make it possible to study the possible updating of know-how and interpersonal skills that is lacking in current Western society, where current city policies, the roles of social workers, cultural agents, and artists are thought out and often work separately. One of the innovative dimensions of this project is that by taking an interest in the cultural heritage of rural areas, their valued knowledge can today play a dynamic role of social cohesion with both the neo-rural and rural people living in urban areas.